Hello and welcome again to the manager's desk. I'm Evan Baltz, marketing technology expert and a team builder. So the title of this episode is a little provocative, eh? Why do we hate the DMV? And it's always good to have a hook. But seriously, think about it for a minute. Have you ever heard someone say how much they love going to the DMV? Think about how you feel about going. How do you feel about the DMV? But have you ever stopped to think about why you feel that way? What is it exactly that makes it someplace you dislike? Maybe it's the people. Maybe they just don't hire good people. They look unmotivated and underperforming. They look for workers who fit that bill. But I don't think that's it. I think it's deeper than that. Maybe it's the purpose that the DMV serves. But isn't getting your license for the first time something exciting? There's nothing too painful or scary about it. It's not like it's the doctor's office. So I don't think it's that either. I think it has something to do with the system. The workers are fine, but they're forced into an inflexible system. There are lines that must be stood in. There are forms that must be filled out, and they must be filled out exactly as required. There are approvals that must be stamped and documents that must be viewed. And did you ever notice there are signs everywhere with instructions from the moment you approach the building? It's information and instruction overload. It's burdensome. It assumes you know nothing and then absolves itself by putting up signs everywhere. It's kind of an institutional passive aggressiveness. One wrong step and you get the, "Didn't you read the sign?" And how does that make you feel? Have you ever been in an organization that maybe does some of those same things? Not necessarily intentionally, but it gives you the same vibe. It might even feel somewhat helpful at first, but over time, it conditions people within the system. And sadly, often the end result is your experience at the DMV. There's a fine line sometimes between process optimization and people optimization. And as you know from my podcasts, I love a good process. I love a good SOP. But when the only solution to everything is a process, it takes people out of the mix. It produces robots who start not to think for themselves. They stop making decisions. They stop using good judgment. In fact, they lose the ability or the motivation to use judgment at all. But no leader, hopefully, would ever come out and say, "I don't want you to use your judgment ever." But depending on how they react to your use of judgment, they may deliver the same outcome. Well, how so? Well, let's say, for instance, you're given a task and the task is presented to you with 10 steps, and you're told, "It's easy, just follow the 10 steps." But when you get to step 7, you recognize that you could skip this step because your experience has taught you that step 7 is unnecessary. And based on the objective of the task, you skip it. You reason, "I'll complete the task more efficiently and receive a reward or perhaps some praise for having used experience and judgment to complete the task successfully in less time, thereby saving the company money. It's a win-win, right?" But instead of that, despite having completed the task successfully, you're told you skipped step 7. That means you failed because you didn't follow the process. "But I completed it successfully and more efficiently." But you skipped step 7. What's the lesson from such an experience? The response to using your experience and judgment was, in essence, punished. Now imagine that happening time after time. The cumulative effect is that you have been conditioned to no longer think or to use judgment or experience. The environment has conditioned you to only follow the process. Early on, you might even ask a coworker about this rigidity. They might answer, well, yeah, someone once made a mistake and they added step 7 so that no one would ever make that mistake again. But now no one is thinking about what they're doing anymore. They're just following the steps like a robot. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So, how do we create an environment that doesn't just become the DMV? Well, let me suggest some concepts. Number one, develop subject matter experts, SMEs, instead of robots. As a manager or a leader, provide a framework for each employee and each role and each person, and then let them know they are the subject matter expert. You, as their manager, do not know everything. You have a different role. They are to become the SME of their role. They are to determine the best way to do things. It's their job to improve the way things are done and become the true expert in their role. Empower them to make decisions. To accomplish this, though, the next step must be done. Number two, reward thought and don't chill initiative. Maybe you've heard the chilling effect in the legal world. It's when a law or regulation is overly broad or unclear but carries a penalty. It's often used in the realm of free speech. Citizens choose not to speak out of fear of reprisal, thus chilling their right to free speech. When people aren't free to speak, bad things happen down the road. In a company, when an employee thinks outside the box or explores new ideas or takes initiative, if those efforts are discouraged, either directly or indirectly, employees will eventually stop doing it. It's officially called self-censorship psychology. That's a mouthful. But here's the definition. Self-censorship denotes the voluntary withholding, alteration, or suppression of one's own thoughts, opinions, or expressions. Anticipated negative consequences. In psychological terms, it arises from an interplay of cognitive, emotional, and social processes that lead individuals to restrict communication, even in the absence of direct external prohibition. How's that? Whatever that is, it doesn't sound too positive. It sounds like the DMV. But it's very real and can be the worst thing for an organization. Be conscious, especially as a leader, of how you approach your employees' efforts. Consider the long-term impact of even subtle discouragement. And finally, 3, people over process. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. It's important to have process, but it's exponentially more important to have good thinking, feeling, engaged, initiative generating people. People who are empowered to improve the process or even eliminate the process when necessary. People need to know that they can try and fail and learn. They need time and space and encouragement to develop those skills. Don't lose sight of the people. Don't lose sight of the goal. The goals and objectives of your company aren't the process. The goals and objectives aren't for you to create a process. And your process doesn't accomplish anything if your people are just blindly following it. I'm curious. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever thought about why you dislike the DMV? Your employees may have the same experience, and it's something to be mindful of, right? Please leave your comments or thoughts or your questions in the comments section. And also follow the Manager's Desk on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Instagram, X, Amazon Music. We're everywhere. And also, don't forget to order your copy of The Art of Leadership Without Losing Your Soul, Managing Teams with Humanity and Grace. It's available on Amazon in paperback, hardcover, Kindle, or audio book format. We got you covered, no matter which way you like it. So for me and my producer, Michael Scott, this has been The Manager's Desk.